This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. Relatives grieving a staggering loss are laying flowers at a daycare center in rural northeastern Thailand, where a fired police officer slaughtered dozens of people, including children as young as 2 years old who were napping. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma has the story.
We were very shocked. It's like our heart is broken many pieces.
Pranita Prawana says her nephew was only 2 years and 11 months old when he was killed at his daycare centre. She's sitting with her sister-in-law and mother as they await news of a visit by the King and Queen of Thailand. Government officials in white uniforms are laying wreaths at ceremonial tables in front of the centre's main door as a faded Thai flag flies at half-mast. They're followed by weeping family members who gather their hands in prayer before placing white flowers on the wooden floor. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
U.S. President Joe Biden said Friday that the risk of nuclear war is the highest it has been since the early 1960s, as Russian losses in Ukraine prompt Russian officials to discuss the possible use of tactical nuclear weapons. Biden said he did not believe there was a way to use a tactical nuclear weapon without ending up in a nuclear showdown. And he said he does not believe Russian President Vladimir Putin is bluffing when he threatens to use them. Biden said he and U.S. officials were still trying to figure out Putin's off-ramp in Ukraine. He made the comments late Thursday at a Democratic fundraiser in New York. On Friday, the White House said the U.S. sees no reason to change its nuclear posture and does not have indications that Russia is imminently preparing to use nuclear weapons. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre said the president was reinforcing what the White House has already been saying. This is VOA News. Residents of the industrial town of Bakhmut in Ukraine have scrambled across a bridge blown up to slow the Russian advance into their town. Russian forces said Friday they had captured ground in the area. It was their first claim of new gains after Kyiv grabbed momentum with a counteroffensive. In Russia, Russian officials on Friday hailed Vladimir Putin on his 70th birthday, praising him for his role in modern Russian history. Putin held an informal meeting with leaders of the Commonwealth of Independent States, an organization made up of post-Soviet countries. Voters in the southern African kingdom of Lesotho cast ballots Friday in parliamentary elections. Hopes are low that the outcome will end Lesotho's long-running political gridlock. Jailed Belarusian activist Alice Bialyatsky, Russian organization Memorial and Ukrainian group Center for Civil Liberties have all been named the winners of the Nobel Peace Prize for 2022. The Nobel Committee said they have made an outstanding effort to document war crimes, human rights abuses, and the abuse of power. The prize is seen by many as a condemnation of Russian President Putin and his ally, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. Shortly after the Nobel Committee's announcement of the Peace Prize winners on Friday, VOA got in touch with the head of Ukraine's Center for Civil Liberties, Alexandra Matvichuk, who shared her reaction to the prize.
This award was, frankly speaking, unexpected for me and for all my team. We think and we are sure that this award is not a recognition of only of our work as Center for Civil Liberties, human rights organization, but also recognition of the general struggle of Ukrainian people for our freedom and for our democratic choice.
People in Florida's Gulf Coast barrier islands are returning to assess the damage from Hurricane Ian. AP's Ed Donahue has that story.
Pamela Brisland and her husband stayed through the storm on Sanibel Island, but it's the aftermath that haunts her. She checked on a neighbor who was crying. Her husband had died.
They had put him on a picnic table and wrapped him up, and she was waiting and alone, so I sat with her for a few hours until the police arrived.
At one point, there was a fire in the neighborhood.
I looked back, and all I could see where my house was a wall of flames. So I was seeing 50 feet. It was just an inferno.
It was not Brisland's house that burned. She says the damage there is not devastating.
Devastating is when you lose a child. Devastating is when you lose your spouse.
This is VOA News.